We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey. I speak from the role of a patient and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm your other host, Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver. And first of all, you might have noticed if you're watching us, new backdrop.
Yay.
I know we can make fake backdrops if we want with how we record this, but sometimes I feel like it's kind of annoying.
And it doesn't always look right. It
Yeah.
kind of glitches out hair and stuff like
Yeah. So
habit. So
we're just trying to, it's a new season we're heading into spring and trying to just do something a little different.
yeah,
So,
it's a little different.
just to change it up because I know it gets boring. And so just trying to do something a little different for you guys. So that's new. Also, Mason gave a speech at the San Diego Blood Bank. I think last time we did this, we were just telling you guys about his dad who had COVID, and
Yep.
we weren't sure if we were going to be able to go. And
So we drove down there in our car and he followed us in his car. So he still wanted to go. He never missed one. He said he never missed one and he didn't want to miss this one. So
yeah, so
he sat outside the entire
yeah.
time.
He was on day 6. He wore an N95 mask, stayed outside, and but he wanted to watch Mason give his speech. So that was pretty cool. And so what else? Anything else new? We got a little bit of rain.
Yeah, actually today when we're recording this is the first like real rain we've had
And it's
quite
not
a
like
long
by
time.
real rain compared to you guys who
No.
actually get real rain. Real
But
rain
here
here in
in
Southern
Vista.
California. Yeah. It's a little different here in
It
Southern
is.
California. Yeah. And we're going to be meeting with this week the surgeons that are going to be giving you an award. So we'll have more information on that again once we meet with them, but that'll be happening. And yeah, that's exciting.
Definitely, it is very exciting.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And I found out this week, I haven't announced it anywhere else, so I'll probably talk more about when we get closer, but I was picked as a volunteer of the year for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation here in San Diego.
Cool.
Yeah, I got the call, and Ralph Panershka actually called me to deliver the news.
And the call.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought he was
so
just calling
cool.
to say hi. I was like, oh, great. And he was
Golf
just,
again,
checking in on Mason and asking about golf. And then he's like, so actually, I have a
I
surprise.
have some surprise for you.
Yeah, so that was that's
Very
pretty amazing. And I feel like it's incredible because there's so many people who do so much for the foundation. And so I just hope to represent them well. And that'll be at the gala in October.
Yeah.
So so that's kind of exciting. So that's our news. I don't think there's really, you started college
Oh yeah, I started college
this week. Yeah.
So far that's going well. I already did my first.
Silencing my phone really quick. Sorry. All right.
Okay, there we go. Probably heard that little ring.
Yeah.
So I started my first week of college and got through successfully. Did JavaScript. Yeah, I did that, and that went really well.
It's a computer science class. Yeah.
Then I also did Design 201, and we're working on more design than 3D stuff. So that's pretty cool. So
So that's exciting. So this week, that's why like we're not going to have like a packed this podcast isn't like going to be one that's, full of educational information. This is something we've kind of talked about before, but I think it's worth mentioning again. And there's some new listeners, and then some of you who may have missed that episode, and I think it would just be helpful for you guys to hear. And it's mainly because it's you get a lot of advice when people find out you have IBD.
IBD, yeah, because yeah, you just get a lot of.
It seems like everybody knows somebody. It seems like everybody's an expert. And it's interesting. And so I think it's important that we kind of discuss, how we juggle all the advice, how we handle it. And, just so you guys out there, so you're not alone and you're not hearing this alone. It's happening to us too.
It's happening to everybody.
And it's a mindset, I think, and a decision. If you are prepared when this happens and you already have a mindset for it, I think it helps so you're not like taken by surprise and upset or frustrated or feel like you have to defend yourself, or maybe it's great advice. And
Yeah, maybe it is.
so how do we figure out, I guess, what is good and what is bad?
What is bad? Yeah, what is good and what is bad?
Like it's because we don't know all the answers, and
especially when you're newly diagnosed.
Yeah.
What is this disease?
Mhm.
You just learned about it.
And so I think that's why it's important to talk about, because especially for those of you who are newly diagnosed, you may think when someone's giving you this advice, this is groundbreaking stuff. And it's like,
breaking
oh my
news.
gosh,
Oh my
you have a neighbor who has Crohn's disease and they did this and that. And so
Cured it.
You might think, if you're newer to this, you may really think like, oh my gosh, well, why isn't my doctor sharing this with me?
Why aren't they
So
telling
we're
us?
kind of here just to kind of talk about our experiences with it, and from your perspective, how you feel as a patient and maybe even a kid, because it might feel different. An adult might not feel like they're being talked down to, or they're not going to be told they're going to grow out of it, like you are. And so,
people, so you'll grow out of it.
yeah. And like we've talked about before, some of the advice given, this is from people who have the disease themselves.
Yeah, which shouldn't be confusing.
Yeah, so it does make it confusing. So, the first thing we always talk about here is how this disease is different for everyone. And your own medical team is going to know your symptoms best. It's not going to be a stranger on the internet, a well-intentioned family member, or not even us, your
we're
favorite
just,
podcast hosts.
Not even your favorite podcast hosts.
Just
we're podcast hosts. We're not doctors. We're not scientists.
We're not going to know your symptoms personally, your diagnosis,
everything about you.
So we always want to, we come from a place of, this is our experience. We have done a lot of research now, so we have seen how different it can be. So we are I like to consider us well educated. I think we're well educated, but again, we have our own experiences, and I know some of you listening are going to have your own. So nothing
the
here
is that Crohn's is different for everybody, and what works for someone else isn't going to work for somebody else. Like Remicade didn't work for me, but it's working for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
So if we tell someone, take Entyvio and Stelara and it should work, well, that person may not respond to that.
That might be bad advice.
They might work on they might be better off on Remicade,
Yeah. And I mean, I think that kind of goes back to, we have an episode on this, and we do think at some point the disease will be recategorized.
Yeah, and
with different like maybe Crohn's disease, but different subcategories underneath
Crohn's A, Crohn's A2, Crohn's A3.
And so I know some of you have heard our take on this, and it is interesting. And I think this is how precision medicine is going to help. And again, we want to do a whole episode on precision medicine. I think that would be a great topic, so you can learn more about what's going on in that world. And it just, because it really doesn't make sense how some people think this is a diet-based disease. Others think this is a disease that can only be treated with biologics. Because
for me, it's not diet related at all. I can eat basically anything I want, obviously within reason. We're not eating popcorn. We're not eating the hottest chili peppers in the world.
You don't drink soda.
You don't drink soda. Caffeine is a no. Well, you try. It's not a no, but you try to stay away from it.
Again, this is for Mason.
This is for us. It's different for everybody else.
Yeah.
We all have different things. Like I can eat pizza.
Yeah. And someone else listening to this is probably like, oh my God.
I cannot eat that.
So I mean, I think that's what's important to think about is, when somebody is giving you their experience, maybe the disease is affecting them differently. I really don't know how to explain it, because I see arguments and people get very defensive because it's like, no, diet did work for me. And someone was saying, no, that's wrong. And so I don't really, I know for us what worked, and diet definitely is not something that is going to help Mason with this disease, to the extent of, within reason. Again, everybody should have a good diet.
Yeah, everyone should have a good diet.
I mean, at the basis of all of it.
Yeah, there's a difference between having a healthy diet and this will cure your disease.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to get too into that, but I think that is part of it, is a lot of you getting advice on, dietary advice, and to really be careful what you do with that. And the one thing I always say, if you are going to take some of that advice and you do want to try it, which, that is your right, but you need to discuss with your medical team first. Don't do these changes. Like I wouldn't just suddenly say, okay, Mason, let's take out gluten. Let's do this. It's like I would discuss it first with his medical team to make sure everyone's on board.
Make sure it's okay,
Right. And make sure that maybe it's, not something else. And so, just make sure when you make these changes, they are noted. You
And
are working
consult
with
with
your
your
medical
doctor.
team because they will know better. And so, yeah, so it is interesting. And it's even interesting how some biologics will help others that, like you were just saying, Remicade helps some, others it does not. Entyvio helps some, others. So it seems like there's, you want to give this advice and go straight to like, here's what you need to do. But it doesn't always seem like it's and that's a crazy disease. Like if you think about it, it's a but
Very.
cancer's like that too. Cancer is also, they have to attack it differently
For different
depending on
things.
your stages, depending on where it is, depending on the type.
Yeah, there's a difference between brain cancer and then lung cancer, and it's not going to be treated the same
Right.
way.
So and I mean, again, that's not comparing this to that. It's just saying there are leaps and bounds being made in new discoveries. And so stuff like that is important, but it is interesting. I think there will end up being changes to that in the future. And the other thing is, I think, is it can be dangerous to give advice as a fact. Like,
It's
and I've seen that happen where people say, don't take this, it's going to cause this. And it's like, or scaring people, like,
so another thing is side effects that happen to someone else. Like for me, my back went out when I was on Remicade. We don't know. We don't think it was connected directly, but it was weird that the second I got off of it, that went away.
So it would be
So it
bad
might have been
if,
connected.
like,
So if I told someone else that if you take Remicade, your back will go out, no, that's not true. There's plenty of people who are on Remicade.
right.
They're doing great. They're not on they are on it, but they're not having these side effects that I have. So not only is what works for you different, it's also the side effects that are different. And so what someone else had, you may not have, so you don't have to worry about it.
So I think when somebody is sharing that, it's just important to share that, don't use it as a scare tactic or to say like and think here this is going to happen to everybody. But it is important you can share your experiences. But again, share it as your own. Don't share it as fact.
This is gonna happen,
like this is going to happen to you, especially with kids. There's a lot of there's just a lot of advice given that is not correct for children. A lot of people are taking advice from an adult they know with it or from an adult onset. And it's going to be very different how they approach this disease in adults versus children. And if you think about it too, a lot of adults are going to make different choices.
Yeah,
they might not want to take biologics. They don't want to go to the doctors. They don't want to. So adults and with kids, you don't have those same options. And so I think it's going to be, you listen to an adult and if the onset of this didn't happen before puberty, that's going to make a difference too, how they approach this with kids. And with teens, there's all sorts of differences. So it's just important to remember that sharing is great. And I think we can learn from each other and sharing our stories, but sharing something is a fact. Unless you are a doctor. And even then, like, it's just not a perfect practice. But have a doctor you trust and listen to them over somebody, again, like we said, on the internet, even us. Because we only know so much about you from, or even if you're on
the difference is we're reading sources. We don't know how your disease is affecting you. We don't know where it's affecting you. We don't know what your symptoms are. We're just going off of sources on the internet that talk about a wide variety of things. And the wide variety of things may not line up to what you have. So with your doctor, ask about it.
Thing. Yeah.
Your doctor is
see what your doctor thinks.
And if you don't like what your doctor says, always get a second opinion.
Right. And maybe consider a new medical team. We have been open. We changed pediatricians. We have a different medical team now for Mason that we feel very confident in. If I did not feel confident in one of those members of the team, I would be getting second opinions. I would be looking into finding them. And I mean, I think that's also the thing is that people want hope. Like they want to think like don't get a second opinion just because you're hoping for a different answer. Like
No.
I guess what I'm saying is I mean obviously if you're getting a second opinion you're looking for a different answer, but don't just do that to hear what you want to hear.
Do it to
Like I want to find a doc I'm going to keep talking to doctors until someone tells me what I want to hear.
just get confirmation.
I think it's important to get confirmation either way that you're on the right track with this doctor's treatment. But it's important to know that's I mean, and I'll go into that a little bit more here because I want to talk about something else really quick. But important to know that this you're not always going to hear what you want to with this disease. That's
I
the
mean,
hard part.
the first thing I didn't want to hear was I had Crohn's disease, and then they told me I had Crohn's disease, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, dang.
And it's not like, yeah, and it's like you can't change that. And
Mhm.
all the, wishing it away, it's more important. The reasons why you're searching for these opinions is that you are doing it for the right ones and not just because you're just hopeful that
You want it to
it'll be different.
confirm. You don't want it to just say,
Yeah.
okay, here's what you want to hear.
Because I know that, when you were first diagnosed,
Yeah.
I would have been welcome. I would have loved to hear, oh, you just have to change his diet. And I'd be like, really?
Really? That's
Okay.
But
Because that's
gonna
what I
mess me up.
wanted. Like that was the easy road that I wanted. And that, but again, that's not what
That's not what the
what
disease
it
is for
needs.
me.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to share, like, so when someone tells me, because this happens a lot, I have people who send me articles, who send me different things that they found or heard about this disease. It happens quite a bit. And, what I do is I put it like into a notebook or like on Google Docs. I have a Google Docs ongoing where you just can put stuff in there. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to 100% follow this. It doesn't mean that it's a bad idea, a good idea, but I will take things and some people are like, I'm so sorry to send you this. You might be getting too much stuff. Some people are much more confident, like, hey, I found the answer to Mason's problems. And,
Like,
I'm just always first of all, thank you for thinking about him.
Yeah, thank you for getting an idea and thinking,
Right.
caring to even send that.
And if you are connecting Crohn's disease and you're actually talking about it, we're doing something right because obviously we're sharing a story that you are now thinking about. And so the way I look at it is maybe this would never have been on this person's radar. Maybe they would never have known what Crohn's disease was. So
now at least
raised
awareness.
It's raising awareness. It may be going in the wrong direction, but
it's still
at least this person is thinking of Crohn's, they're thinking of Mason's story. And so that's why we continue to share his story so they get an accurate picture. And that's why we talk like this too. I don't want to just like post something once in a while, like here's what's going on. And so I do it like as we live it and we share as we live it. And I think and I mean, you've been willing to do that. And I think that's been very helpful for this and raising awareness. So you can, someone gave you advice and maybe go home, write it down. If it's messaged to you, copy paste it, text it, save it.
Ask your doctor.
And then you can ask your doctor, maybe go through it. And because you may never know, like at the time you might not be experiencing an issue with something, but maybe when you are, you'll be like, oh, hey, I remember somebody talking about this. And then you bring it to your doctor. I don't save things, so I can just be like, what can I do to help him? So, but I just want people to know that I know there's good intentions behind it. And I know sometimes it's a myth. Yeah, they are. They care. That's
they're not trying to mess you up. They're not trying to send you down the wrong path purposefully. No. They're hopeful.
That it's like, oh, and that the hard part is when you do see things and it's not true and they don't necessarily believe that now because they've read it. So there is the flip side of it's kind of annoying because they think that, they maybe know the answer now and you're just not doing it. So
if they're pushy like that, that's annoying. But if you're able to tell them why that won't work and then they understand it and they're not being overly pushy and they're understanding and they're asking questions and they're caring, then they really do care and they're not just trying to make you
and learn too. And I think that's the thing is a lot of people are and a lot of people aren't, but a lot of people are open to learning. And so I always take a chance to I don't go on like my long podcast spiel with them, but I may refer them to a podcast episode, be like, hey, watch this. But I take it as an opportunity to maybe educate.
Yes.
And open their minds a little bit. And, I think that's what's interesting with this disease too, is, especially for you as a kid, I think this is really important. It kind of forces you to make decisions that people are not going to agree with. Like, it's a weird feeling because, like, before you were diagnosed, we were very comfortable, like, kind of living like our lives. Social media wasn't a big part of it for me as much. It was more about, I'd share your accomplishments, things you were doing. I didn't put a lot of opinions out there because I'm not that kind of person. I like to keep my views personal. That's just, I don't feel like sharing everything. And so it's like, I don't want to put it all out there. I don't want to have to defend choices, right? With and get in arguments. And so, I mean, I will discuss things when I feel it's appropriate and I need to. But for the most part, it's just like, I just want to live my life. And, but then you get IBD and all of a sudden you're like put into this camp where you can be challenged, whether you want to or not. And you're going to get questions. What is Mason taking? Why are you not doing this? Hard things that I've had people say terrible things about Mason being on biologics. And, and I understand some people are against these things, but I'm not like, it's just, you feel like I'm not here to argue it. I'm doing what needs to be done for him. And I think for you suddenly have to, as a kid, which a lot of kids don't feel like they have to challenge adults. I think you get challenged by adults with questions in situations that most kids never have to face. And I think it's not right, but it is what it is with this. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. And, Mason making the choices he makes with his medical team, nothing is being done here without a lot of thought and consideration. We know Mason best. You know yourself best.
Yes.
And
it's my body, not yours.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. And people think that they know so much. And I think it's like, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I don't want to be this person. Like, I don't want to sit here and like explain everything. And so it kind of forces you into an advocacy role that some of us were never prepared for. I mean, there's going to be some comments you're going to get that it just puts you in a position where maybe you aren't thrilled that your child's on biologics. It's like, do you think, but what is the better alternative for him? And these are the things we've discussed with his medical team. And so when somebody comes at you and you feel like, I already am exhausted, I'm not happy with any of this. I don't want to be like, I didn't ask to be a spokesperson. It's a weird feeling. And then having people, tell you like, oh, here's what you should be doing. And
Yeah,
you're
they
like,
kind of look at them and you're going,
yeah, yeah. And that's weird. Most kids don't have to face that sort of confrontation. And so in a lot of ways, I think it's caused good growth on your part, learning how to handle those situations. For the most part, we also try to jump in, but Mason is very good at speaking up for himself in a confident, but not talking down, not being rude to people. We don't need to go there if that's their choice, if they want to behave like that, but that's our choice is not to behave like that and to educate. And so, yeah, I mean, we even have like a face mask episode where, I mean, that's a whole different thing too, where it's, it's difficult.
it is.
So yeah, so I think the interesting thing is you're put in a position where you suddenly have to stand for something and maybe it's scary to you still and you don't and so it's a very difficult situation. And both of us have turned it actually for the positive. We took this advocacy role and we took it like, all right, let's run with it.
Let's use it to our advantage.
So let's
life gives you lemons. What do you do with it?
Right. It's true. And so we decided there's got to be other people out there feeling like us on these things. And so let's talk about it. And so
make them feel better.
Yeah, that's the key. And just feeling better about it and understanding and maybe being able to laugh a little bit and just feel like we get it. And it's just there's going to be people that are going to think they're experts because they know somebody with this disease. They're going to think they know what it is. And that's going to be based on their experience of how well they know that person. How much does that person actually talk about their disease? There's a lot of things, but it's like it can be frustrating when somebody does give you that information. Sometimes They might give you something good. Again, like I said, you decide, you put that in your journal, your notebook, wherever you're putting these facts. If you want to do that, file it away. And maybe it's something, not everybody is, people may give you some advice that may help.
Yeah.
But again, it's something to discuss with your doctor.
Consult with your doctor before doing something yourself.
Yeah. And kind of what we were talking about earlier is like, I think the hardest thing is wanting to hear the answers you want to hear. So if somebody tells you something you want to hear and going off on a tangent, that isn't going to help the disease. And with kids, especially, you don't have a lot of time to work with this stuff. It's not like you can't experiment and say, let's come off all the biologics. Let's try this diet. I'm sure there's parents who've done this, but that can be,
it can be very bad.
Very bad. And, so especially like in Mason's case, again, so blanket statements are very dangerous statements because each one is individual. Your medical team will know better. Again,
yes, they know a lot about you.
But I feel like
colonoscopies, all that stuff.
The thing is, like, it gives false hope to new parents with who are new patients who are diagnosed.
Yeah, like when you're in the group and you see someone telling a new parent that all they have to do is go on this diet.
Or take these supplements.
The doctor is lying.
Yeah, I get it.
And then when the doctor tells you to get on a biologic to test it out, because that's what they think the doctor from their research thinks would be best, now the parent doesn't know who to trust. Yeah. And then it's just confusing at that point, and you don't know what to do. A few minutes of scrolling on Google isn't going to compare to a doctor who has done colonoscopies and looked at your blood type, seen your cells, like DNA, all that stuff. Yeah. I don't think scrolling on Google is going to help as much.
And if you, like I always tell people, if you feel like this doctor is giving you red flags and not helping you, don't settle. Like, that's not what we're saying at all. Because some of you might be thinking, well, what if the GI is giving me bad advice?
There are some bad doctors.
Yeah. Or they don't, like Mason has an IBD specialist.
I have an IBD specialist.
Not all GIs are IBD specialists. And so,
which we learned, and we actually did an episode on that, I think.
Yep. Yeah. So that's why it's important to look maybe for second opinions too in that situation. But what I just don't like is when I feel like, because I remember what I felt like and you remember how you felt when you were newly diagnosed. And at that point, if somebody had walked in and given us another alternative that they said, hey, 100% this worked for my kid. Don't listen to your doctor. Your doctor's going to try to sell you on these biologics. Do not listen. This is going to reverse the disease. And you as a newly into it gets very confusing because
who do you trust?
Right. And I think obviously your doctor, but I think at the time it goes back to, well, the doctor's telling me to do these painful things. My kid, like you, did not want infusions. You did not want that. So hearing there's these other alternatives, some people latch onto those because they don't want to hurt their kid. They don't want to see you don't want to be hurt. So, so I think we just being careful with that information and really having open conversations with your GI about the fears, about concerns, things you've heard. And in the beginning, it's going to be a lot because that's when you're going to get a lot of opinions because you're going to hear from everybody who knows somebody at that point. And you're not an expert at all at that. You're just like, you're just trying to understand the disease. Like, what is this? And so it's a lot. Be understanding where this advice is coming from. Know the person. You'll know if they're giving to you out of the goodness of their heart, if they are always someone who gives you opinions on things. It's you'll kind of know, and then you can keep educating yourself. That is extremely important. But look for reliable sources and ask those questions with your GI. And I think, overall, yeah, we can learn from each other. Yes, I think, and to just try not to get too frustrated, but it's okay if you do, because it is frustrating at times. And it feels like sometimes like, oh my gosh, I've already explained this. And
I've already explained 500 times. How many times do I have to do it again?
It feels dismissive sometimes.
They just forget. They don't remember.
Yeah. Well, no, I feel like it feels like they're dismissive, like in the sense where they just don't really care. So it's like, oh yeah, my friend has that. And
they don't,
blah, blah, blah. And then, and it's like, they want to move on. Don't want to talk about it. And that's okay too. Like, I'm not going to make you listen to all Mason's stories, and Mason's not going to sit here and I mean, you can listen to all his unless you're listening to the podcast.
Yes.
But in a regular conversation, but sometimes it does feel, so you usually feel like this person just tells you how it is and moves on, and they don't understand the severity. So a lot of us are, left sitting there like wanting to over explain and wanting and feeling bad. But I think the end of the day, the important thing is to remember we can't make everybody happy. Not
No.
everybody's going to care about your story. They're not going to care about it. And so the important thing is to find ways to make people care and share your story and get it out there in a positive
And to
way.
raise awareness
Mhm.
and help
Yeah.
teach people about
So-
something they not
Yes.
understand.
So try to keep calm about it. And
And if you really do want to show a Crohn's patient, if you want to show them that you really care, ask them some questions within reason, obviously.
yeah,
Ask
yeah,
them,
questions
what are
are
you
great.
on? How is your disease doing? What are symptoms? How are you feeling?
Mhm.
How long has it been since you were diagnosed? Because just telling them something may take time to write that, but you're telling them something and you're not really expecting a reply. But with a
Mhm.
question, you're asking things because you're interested in hearing
Yeah.
their story, and then they will reply back, and that's what you want to hear.
Yeah. It's even good for us to remember. Okay. So that's the other thing is I feel like it can be like when we meet somebody else, like if you meet someone with Crohn's and I meet another parent,
Yes.
you automatically, I mean, first of all, you feel like family, like, oh,
Yes,
we
it's,
get
oh,
each
we
other.
get each other.
Then I feel it's like a, oh my gosh, because you both you want to share with each other. And so many times it is really validating. Like those are, I think, are really good experiences.
Definitely.
But then there are weird experiences where you meet somebody who's on that flip side and they've had a different experience. And so it's not like we're always going to agree
No,
with
not
even people
everybody
with
is
the
gonna agree.
diagnosis.
No.
Yeah. And so, but like Mason was saying, important to ask questions.
Mhm.
And so, as somebody with this, even, it's important for us to remember to not just be talking to somebody from just our side and thinking you're wrong, but important to say, maybe ask, okay, well, how do you know the diet is working? Are you having the colonoscopies? Do you have regular labs? Like, get these questions because all these things, it's important to get all facets. And so, yeah, ask questions
Yeah.
and don't just close your mind off because this was your experience and you think this other parent. So yeah, so this isn't just pointing fingers or anything like that. It's just saying it's an overall, it happens within the IBD community, it happens outside of it. And that's the interesting thing. It's
kind of everywhere.
there can be that situation. You're gonna get advice from everywhere. And just because the advice does come from somebody like us, like somebody who has had experience with this, does not always mean it's going to be right for you either. So
Yeah.
just important lessons to stay open-minded and
important
stay humble
lessons,
with this
yes.
disease because man, it sure can.
Yeah.
Like, we think we get it, we understand things,
then
then
you
all of
realize
a sudden we're like back to the start
back to
again.
square one.
Like
Still
let's
learning.
yep, still learning. And so that's why one of the reasons we do this, because there's always stuff to learn, always new articles and information, and we really like to bring that to you guys. So that's kind of it for today. I think this is more just like a support episode. Saying yeah, like we're here for you guys.
Fun talk.
Hopefully this was helpful in some way.
Yes.
And hopefully we didn't offend anybody. Definitely not our intention.
No, we don't want to offend anyone.
No, just hoping to be supportive, I guess, and
Yes.
offer some validation because we're guessing if we're feeling this way or have heard these things, you more than likely have to. And if you don't have the disease and you're listening, on behalf of someone who does, awesome. And also hi to I was able to tell Mason we heard from a couple listeners this week in one of the groups I was in.
Very cool.
Yeah, which was super exciting to hear from you guys. So hi and thank
Yes,
you
hello.
for listening and
Thank you for enjoying our content.
yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting something out of this and you're enjoying it. So it makes it
cool
worth
when
it.
people are able to learn from you and understand and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff,
Yeah. So because I mean this is
trying not to
like
fall asleep to us.
these podcasts are it's a lot of work and it's something that we take pride in and we don't just want to just show up and like get views
No.
because it's not like
We're not
that
here for views. We're here
clearly
for
we're
helping
not.
others. Clearly, it's kind of obvious we're not here for views because
Yeah,
we
we're
don't
not
get
like
many and we're still here.
yeah, I mean we are here for those of you. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 100, a couple hundred.
If we're helping somebody, That's enough.
That's why we're here. So it is always nice to hear from somebody, and it makes it feel like, okay,
It's worth it because
helping
this person's
this family, it's
understanding, they're
helping this
learning, they're
child.
listening.
It's yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So anyway, so thank you guys for listening. And
Yes, and
if
being
you're
kind.
not, being kind.
Yeah,
Also,
please be kind.
we appreciate that. And but you guys can follow us on Instagram at Team IB Determined. And there's also the Reggie Project, which I'll probably cover again for the new listeners. We'll do that in another episode. But
Okay.
you can follow the Reggie Project on Instagram and kind of get an idea what it is and participate. We would love to have some of you guys participating with
Yes,
that. I think
please.
it'd be
That'd be
great.
great. That would be.
And you guys can listen to us on any podcast station, really, like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. And we have a link that will show you all the different places you can listen. So we'll be sure to include that.
Yes.
And if you like to watch.
And if you like to watch, also there are more links in Buzzsprout, which will also be linked in the description.
Yeah.
Thanks, Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout.
If you want to watch us and listen to us, there's also YouTube podcasts, which are kind of getting old now. They're still quite
but
new.
some of you are listening to us through YouTube, which is cool.
If you want to watch and listen to us, there's also YouTube videos. And if you are on YouTube watching or listening to us, or both, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to be notified every time we post a new video, make sure to hit that bell icon. And please leave comments because we love hearing from you guys when it's positive or kind. Or maybe there's something that you want to hear about in another episode. Yes. Or something we didn't cover.
Let us know.
Yes, please
That's
let us
why
know.
we're here.
Or just say hi, saying hi or how did you find us? I don't know. That'd be an interesting one.
Well, we know we have listeners around the world, which is actually really interesting. And
when it was in New Zealand,
Australia, UK, and
UK,
I mean, there's all kinds of places. Actually, it's incredible. And the thing is, too, which I'm learning about, and I learned something new from somebody else that, it's different. Like in Australia, how biologics are when they're given.
Yeah, very.
And it's from this person, their perspective, they don't give them as quickly as they do here. They have to fail a bunch of other things before they can go to biologics.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. And so I'm always learning too. I know some of you listening, your experience will be different also because your medical care will be different depending where you live. And so we're always, cognizant of that. And I do enjoy hearing from you guys and your perspectives and how it is where you live. Mm-hmm. I think that's extremely important because
definitely.
Yeah. And it also can give us, understanding better of what other people are going through and just open our minds a little bit more to be, just understanding of what other people are facing in those challenges and not be narrow-minded in this. So anyways, that's always really cool.
That's always,
to hear from people. Really cool. So, thank you guys for listening to this episode.
Also, another, because of the fires and stuff, I want to say thank you to the States. Thank you to Canada. Thank you to Mexico. Thank you to the fire department. Thank you to the police. Thank you to all first responders. You're all doing your best. We were watching some fires that actually popped up, and
locally here.
Thank you to the pilots in the sky and the helicopters and in the planes.
They were on it.
And thank you to the firefighters on the ground. You're all doing your best work, and thank you so much for doing what you do. We really need you guys.
We had a lot of Santa Anas, and it been a crazy few weeks, and so we're so appreciative and hoping if you guys are listening out there, you're doing okay too. And it was a tough week for a lot of loss. So past couple weeks have been difficult, but so anyways, thank you for that, Mason.
We keep our first responders and military and all that stuff. We need to keep them empowered. Keep their spirits up.
Yeah,
because
we appreciate
it's a battle that's still continuing. I know last time we said hopefully it's out by this time.
It's almost, I think it's 87% contained in Palisades.
It's very good, but that's still quite a long time for a fire.
A border fire going on
that one
here.
Popped up recently.
And that one's pretty big too, but that one's getting closer to being contained. It's helped. We had a weather change, like we said, a little bit of rain, so things have These
And
have
right
helped.
now the sky looks kind of blue, which is
I know. It's like
Yeah.
we're supposed to get more rain though later
more
today.
rain, please. We
But
need
this
more
is
rain.
it is here. It's like
California just don't get water.
yeah, like we know when they say there's a
Yeah.
chance of rain, we're like, yeah, we get
It's like
excited.
a 30% chance.
But
it
we
never
know
happens.
what might happen. Some years it's different, but this year has just been like a
Dry year.
letdown with all that.
It doesn't even feel like Christmas kind of happened. I mean, there were
No, it
decorations.
didn't feel like there was a winter season.
But it was literally summer. Like the weather was like summer.
Yeah.
And you have Christmas lights up, you have music. Where's the rain? Where's the snow? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Here it's just different in
We're
Southern
just
California.
having a Vista Christmas,
different.
California Christmas.
Yeah. Just as that way. I mean, obviously we can't complain, but
No.
it would be cool to see some kind of rain here
It'd be
because
cool
it's
to see
needed.
a type of weather change
Yeah.
other than just blue sky and sun and
Yeah.
clouds with no rain.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Mm.
So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. We're gonna go get
Yes.
lunch. Mason gets it's podcast day, and so he gets a treat, and it's Chili's
Chili's
salsa and
best
chips.
salsa in the world. Well,
So that's like I make my own. Like I make everything from scratch. You can
she does.
like everything, and it's like still like I make salsa. I make all kinds of like
I just like I'm
salsa verde. We make homemade tamales, everything. And he's like, Chili's. I want chili salsa. So it's like, all right, so we're gonna go do that. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Okay.
anyways, and again,
Maybe you should get yourself some chilies too.
yeah.
You're all in
Again,
Australia.
something you can eat.
Oh my God! Please tell us in the comments if you don't have a Chili's where you are.
Oh my gosh.
It's horrible.
I hope
no.
You're hungry. We'll go
Yes.
get you some food. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you in 2 weeks on the next episode.
Yes.
Right.
Have a great week, everyone, and school day,
All
college, all that stuff.
Great
working,
everything.
Day off. Okay. Have a good day.
All right. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.